everybody. Sorry that it's been a while, but it is definitely time for another relaxing reading. We're going to be reading again out of Wildwood Dancing by Juliet Marillier. I think so you say it. Today, we're going to pick up where we left off, the first installment, where we discussed Uncle Nikolai and how he would take care of this family of 5 girls should their father pass away. Now, we're about to read a little bit more about him. As we begin, I am going to have a little bit of a snack, if that's all right. I'm going to be eating this plum because I worked all day today and I haven't had time to eat very much. So it looks really nice. I'm really excited about it. So just a little bedtime snack. Alright. And go ahead and turn to the bookmark here. Take this out. And let's see. Set this up. You can see all of the pages. You can read along with me if you wish. We stopped last time right here. Uncle Nikolai would see we were provided for. Now, Uncle Nikolai's family home was called Wildwood Dancing, or Storm Heights. His house was quite grand. That's really good. Set on a hillside and surrounded by birch and pine forest. He ran a prosperous farm and a timber business, as well as the trading ventures that had made him wealthy. When we were little, we had lived in the merchant town of Brasov, and Wildwood had been a place we visited as a special treat. It was hard to say what I had loved best about it. The dark forest, the forbidden lake, or the excitement of playing with our big cousins, who were both boys. But there was no doubt at all what Father had loved. Next door to Wildwood was Pisco Jacului, Devil's Peak. Father had first seen the empty, crumbling castle set up on a high spur of rock when he was only a boy. Our father was an unusual kind of person, and as soon as he clapped eyes on Piscal Dracului, he wanted to live there. There'd been nobody to inherit the ruin and the tract of wildwood that went with it. Perhaps the many strange tales attached to the place had frightened people away. The owner had died long ago. Florica and Petru had been custodians of the place for years, looking after the empty chambers and eking out a living from the small farm. For they were hard-working, thrifty folk. Father had waited a long time to achieve his dream. He had worked hard, married, and fathered daughters, bought and sold, scrimped and saved. When he'd set enough silver aside from his merchant ventures, trading in silk carpets and bear skins, spices and fine porcelain, had quietly paid a large sum to an influential voivode, gone into partnership with Uncle Nikolai, and moved our family into Piscal Dracului. I think Mother would have preferred to stay in Berezov, for she feared the tales folk told about the old castle. It looked as if it had grown up out of the forest, with an assortment of bits and pieces sprouting from every corner. Tiny turrets, long covered walkways, squat round towers, arches, and flagpoles. The eccentric nobleman who had built it had probably been someone just like Father. People seldom ventured into the forest around Piscal Dracului. There was a lake deep within the wildwood, a place unofficially known as the Dead Wash, though its real name was prettier, Tal Ilaler, Lake of the Nymphs. Every family had a dark story about the Dead Wash. We got ours soon after we moved into the castle. When I was 5 years old, my cousin Kosti, Uncle Nikolai's eldest son, drowned in Tal Ilaler. I was there when it happened. The things folks said about the lake were true. Before Father had become so ill, Tati and I had scarcely given a thought to such weighty matters as what might happen to Piscal Dracului, with no son to inherit our father's property. My elder sister was a dreamer, and I had a different kind of future in mind for myself, one in which I would work alongside my father, traveling and trading and seeing the world. Marriage and children were secondary in my scheme of things. Now, with Father's cough ringing in our ears and his white face regarding us across the supper table, they had become a frightening reality. I remembered Aunt Bogdonia saying that 16 was the ideal age for a young woman to wed. Tati was already in her 17th year. I was only 1 year younger. So they're 17 and 16. Father went off to bed as soon as the meal was over. He'd hardly touched his food. The others disappeared to our bedchamber. But I waited for Florica to bank up the fire in the big stove, and for Petru to bolt the front door, and for the two of them to retire to their sleeping quarters. Then it was safe, and I ran up the stairs to our chamber, my worries set aside for now, my heart beating fast with an anticipation that was part joy, part fear. At last it was time. The long room we sisters shared had 4 round windows of colored glass: soft violet, blood red, midnight blue, peach green. Beyond them, the full moon was sailing up into the night sky. I put Gogu on a shelf to watch as I took off my working suit dress and put on my dancing gown, a green one that my frog was particularly fond of. Paula was calmly lighting our small lanterns to be ready for the journey. With 5 girls, even the biggest bedchamber can get crowded. As Tati fastened the hooks on my gown, I watched Yulia twirling in front of the mirror. She was 13 now and developing the kind of courageous figure our mother had had. Her gown was of cobalt silk, and she had swept her dark curls up into a circlet of ribbon butterflies. We had become clever over the years in our use of the leftovers from Father's shipments. He was good at what he did, but buying Piscal Dracului had eaten up a lot of his funds, and, even in partnership with his wealthy cousin, he was still making up for lost ground. I saw the books every day. He had been unable to conceal from me that the finances remained very tight. We sisters had to improvise. We made one new dancing gown anytime a cargo contained a little more of a certain fabric than the buyer had requested. I wore Tati's hand-me-downs. Paula wore mine. Yulia, with her fuller figure, did rather better, because she could not fit into either Tati's clothes or mine. All the same, she complained. She would have liked a whole wardrobe of finery. Tati was clever with her needle and adjusted old things of Mother's to fit her. Mother was gone. We had lost her when our youngest sister was born. Stella was only 5, easy to dress. Paula had finished lighting the lamps. Now she crouched to bank up the fire in our little stove and ensure its door was safely shut. One year, Julius Jr., Paula was our scholar. While I was good at figures, she shone in all branches of learning. Our village priest, Father Sandu, came up to Piscal Dracului once a month to provide Paula with private tutoring. I shared in the mathematical part of these lessons. I went home with a bottle of Petru's finest Turka in his coat pocket. Most folk believed education of that kind was wasted on girls, but father had never cared what people thought. Follow your heart was one of his favorite sayings. What is it, Jenna? Paula had noticed me staring at her. The heat from the stove had flushed her cheeks pink. Her dark eyes were fixed on me with an assessing look. Tonight she was wearing dove gray, with her spectacles on a chain around her neck, and her brown curls disciplined into a neat plait. You look pretty tonight, I said. So do you, Stella. Stella, our baby, was rosy-cheeked and small, like a little bird. Maybe a robin. Her hair, the same ebony as Tati's, was wispy and soft, and tonight it was tied back with rose-pink ribbons to match the gown Tati had made for her. She was standing by the oak chest, jiggling up and down in excitement. All right, we're going to end it right there for now. I'm going to try to keep these all around the same length, unless people want them longer or shorter. Let me know. I hope you enjoy this. I hope that it is relaxing. And I would greatly appreciate any feedback or suggestions or just anything at all that you feel like saying. Go ahead and say it. So, I hope you all get a wonderful rest tonight. And I'll see you soon.